La Familia has reloaded their roster. They're one of the top overall seeds in the TBT, and they're ready to storm through the bracket in 2025.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be breaking down La Familia's new roster in their second season in the TBT. A lot of guys coming back. We've got some new faces, some very new, some throwback cats, and then also on today's episode, going to talk a little bit about recruiting, because Jason Crowe Jr. is more than likely going to commit to Missouri. If the Wildcats lose out on him, who else are they going after that are top prospects in the 2025 class? And then also, does losing out on Crowe really mean that much in the grand scheme of things? Because next year's roster is going to be pretty loaded as is. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. I want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. And if you're listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. La Familia, in their second season in the TBT, the basketball tournament, they're running it back with a lot of different players, but they've also brought in some really interesting pieces. In case you don't know, and you didn't see this last year, the basketball tournament is an annual tournament where mostly alumni get together in teams and the bracket is seeded, and whoever wins the tournament wins $1 million. And La Familia, finally, after a lot of people were asking for it, put together a Kentucky alumni team. And they went on a run. I believe they made it to the semifinals, like the Final Four equivalent of the tournament, before losing, I think, to Carmen's crew. I might be mistaken. But a lot of the guys from that roster are back, and it starts here. We'll just go ahead and start breaking down the roster that they've brought in. Starts with the Harrison twins. They have returned after playing for La Familia a season ago. Aaron Harrison and Andrew Harrison. On last year's squad, Aaron Harrison averaged 7 points per game. Let's see here. An assist per game, 3 rebounds per contest. He only got 9 total shots up, but his brother, Andrew, was a little bit more impactful, averaged 11.6 points per game, shot 40% from the floor, 31.3% from three, also averaged 4.4 rebounds and 4 assists per contest. But both of them returning here for what should be a very interesting backcourt here for La Familia. You've got the Harrison twins. You also have Archie Goodwin joining the squad this year. He wasn't on the team last year. I believe he was playing over with, I think it's Yangsu CBA. It's an overseas team. If I'm not mistaken, in China. I might be horribly butchering that. But Archie is going to be on the squad this season wearing 26. You look across the rest of the backcourt. We talked about this guy on yesterday's show. DeAndre Liggins is going to be joining this squad, 6'6" shooting guard. I believe he was playing in Iraq last time out that he was playing. You've also got Duran Lamb, who's going to be on this team, was playing in Italy last time. So that's a very interesting backcourt of the Harrison twins, Goodwin, Liggins, and Lamb. You do not get Eric Bledsoe back on this year's squad, which is a little disappointing considering just how impactful he was. But I think that the rest of the roster more than makes up for it, especially with the newest newcomer, a very new newcomer, I should say, and that's Ansley Almonor. Ansley Almonor going to be transitioning from immediately playing, or from playing with the Wildcats this past season to immediately playing for La Familia and the TBT. A guy that can stretch the floor, knock down outside shots at that 4 spot. You look at other players that are also going to be impactful on the wing and at the forward position. You look at a guy like DJ Burns, who played at Murray State. I believe he was playing in Israel last time out. If I'm not mistaken. Also played at Southern and Youngstown State, but he is known, at least by me, for what he did at Murray State. You've also got Kerem Kanter back, who was so good. Played at Xavier, but he was incredible for this team last year. Averaged 18.4 points per game while shooting 67.5% from the floor, 37.5% from three. He is probably going to have to carry a lot of the load again offensively because James Young is not here. Kellen Grady's not here. Nate Sestina, if I'm not mistaken, is actually going to be getting married here over the summer, so he's not going to have time to go and play for TBT. Brennan Canada is not going to be on the squad. But again, you get guys like Almonor, Burns, Lamb, Kanter. Willie Cauley-Stein is going to be the center here. He's going to be what looks like the only center on this roster that's like actually going to be comfortable playing at the 5. Kanter's probably going to have to play a good bit at the 5 whenever he's not in. Cauley-Stein was on this team last year as an enforcer. Let's look at his stats real quick. Averaged 10 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, 71% from the floor, 66.7% from three. Super efficient, super impactful. He's going to have to be really important. The front court is going to have to carry the load. And then Khalil Whitney, 6'7" small forward. If you guys remember him during his time at Kentucky, you've seen what he's been posting on TikTok as far as the mental health struggles that he had while he's here at Kentucky, all of the support that he's received online from Kentucky fans. It has been really, really incredible to see, and I can't wait to see Whitney out there playing with some Kentucky guys once again. I will be rooting for him very, very hard. Really excited to see him join this TBT squad. So this is a pretty dang good team. The reason why they're one of the top overall seeds is that they made a run with a good portion of the squad a year ago. Not a season ago, a year ago. Liggins, Lamb, Almonor, Goodwin, they should be able to provide some scoring, some pop. I think Cauley-Stein and Kanter are going to provide a lot for this team. And then a guy off the bench, I'm assuming he's going to be off the bench, who knows, that just came out of left field is a media member, not a media member. He's a YouTuber, Jesser. If you don't know who this is, I would encourage you to go look him up. He's a basketball content creator, 31 plus million subscribers on YouTube. He's got like 1.8 million followers on Instagram. This guy's legit, and not only in the content creation space, but also as a basketball player. He's a pretty dang good hooper, and he's going to be joining this squad, which is kind of, again, like I said, out of left field, kind of shocking. But I mean, hey, if he's able to get some run and get some shots up and knock him down, I am here for it. Yes, sir, absolutely. Represent us YouTubers very well. I say that like I'm anything, obviously not, but it's really impressive what La Familia has been able to do, just retaining some important guys, then also bringing in guys that I think could be impactful. Liggins, Whitney, Almonor, Goodwin, Jesser. So this should be a really interesting tournament. Obviously, Kentucky, like I mentioned, the 1 seed in their region. They will play either the 4th seeded War Ready, which is Auburn alumni, or 5th seed X-rated, which I believe is Xavier, does not specify on the website. They will play on July 18th if Kentucky does advance to the second round. I think they play Stroh's squad at the 8th seed in that region first. So it's going to be a fun tournament. I can't wait to cover it with you guys. We'll probably be going live after every game. Should be pretty fun. Let me know what you think about the roster, about Jesser, about the additions, about guys that aren't going to be there. It's going to be interesting. I'll say that. All right, I want to talk with you guys about Jason Crowe Jr. Well, not specifically about him, but what Kentucky might do if they miss on him. Because I think there are several guys at the top of the 2026 class that the Wildcats could go after. And to be honest with you guys, if Kentucky doesn't haul in a top recruiting class, I'm just going to go ahead and get out ahead of it. I don't know if it's the end of the world. We'll break that down in just a second. Before we do it, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, of course, but why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's super easy to use. fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm a part of the action, because frankly, I am. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, continuing along here on the Wednesday edition of Locked On Kentucky, Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Really appreciate you guys checking out the show today. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers before the start of college basketball season, the start of the college basketball season, I should say. If you guys would subscribe, it would mean the world to me. Trying to get to 20K. I think we can get there. And if you've got any questions for the show, please let me know in the YouTube comments below. At Locked On UK on Twitter is where you can find me. At Locked On UK on Twitter/X. If you want to send me a tweet, if you want to send me a DM, ask me a question that I can answer on the show, I'll do my best to do so. All right. If Kentucky misses on Jason Crowe Jr., who else can they go after? Well, I think that there are 4 players that are either at the top of Kentucky's board or close to the top of Kentucky's board for the 2026 recruiting class. There are several players that you could talk about that aren't on here. I think Mika Murinen, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I think you could throw him on here, but I kept it to 4 today. We'll start here at the top with Tyran Stokes. If Kentucky misses on Crowe Jr., pour that money into an offer for Tyran Stokes, man. He's already taken a visit, an insane scorer, an insane prospect. There's a reason why he's the number 1 player across the board. Stokes would be the guy that I would go after first. Because when you start to look down the list here in terms of top prospects in the 2026 recruiting class, I'm not entirely sure if this is as deep of a class as last season's was, based on what I've been hearing and reading and seeing, and I'm sure you guys have probably read some similar things. Scouts aren't particularly excited about the 26 class outside of like the top guys. I mean, like the top 5-ish guys. Like scouts aren't thrilled about what they're seeing in terms of like what colleges are probably going to end up getting. Stokes would be an incredible talent, crazy athlete, really physical player, insane body control, just a man amongst boys at various points with his run with Team USA, and then obviously during high school and different circuits that he's participated in. Just unstoppable, it feels like, driving and getting to the rim at various points. Stokes would be the guy that I go after first because I think that he would be just insane for Kentucky if he could develop the ability to be a good to great passer. He would be drive and kick king at Kentucky. To surround him with shooters and just let him go at it would be super fun to watch. The second player that I would go after if Kentucky misses on Crowe, which again, it's looking like it's not trending in a good direction, is Kinney. Taylen Kinney would be the guy that I go after. It's a great scoring guard who has some bounce. He's a strong lead. He's a great passer. He's not like Crowe where he's taking a ton of shots per game, right? Like he's not going to be, and I say this and it carries a negative context. I don't mean it that way. He's not going to be a shot chucking guard. He's going to be out there doing a little bit more, I think. That's not necessarily his forte, although he is a great three-level scorer. He's a better passer, I think, and also probably a little bit better of an athlete. I don't necessarily know if he's as efficient, but I think that Kinney can bring you a little bit more on the defensive end. Also somebody who's got some great athleticism and some great scoring pop, and can develop into something more than just a spot-up isolation handle, like ball handler, who is looking to score every single time he touches the ball. And again, I'm saying that as if it carries a negative connotation. In this context, it doesn't. I think Crowe is great. I think he's a great scorer. Proved that at high school. Was not so efficient during the EYBL circuit, but still, he's a great player, and somebody that's a score-first guard. But Kinney would be the guy that I go after second here in terms of like money, investment, etc. Third guy I would go after here is Caleb Holt. The reason I would go after Caleb Holt is because Mark Pope has made him a priority. Like, clearly tried to invest in this kid a little bit. Most recent 24/7 Sports update, by the way, on his page, is Mark Pope visiting him in April, not him visiting us. The most recent update for 24/7 is us actually going to him, which I think is interesting. Great pieces were written about Holt and his relationship with Mark Pope and how they worked at the USA training camp in Colorado Springs before they went to Switzerland. He talked about his motor, his energy, his athleticism. He talked about how well his recruitment's going. He went on a visit to Ole Miss, and he really enjoyed that. And he also talked about at length about how Pope has been investing in him. He said, Pope definitely wants me to come there. He wants me to help them win a national championship. I've been talking to Jason Hart, and Mark Pope is one of my coaches here. So I've got a relationship with him. He's a coach that believes in me, believes I can play 1 through 3, impact the game, dominate through my physical ability. My end goal is to hear my name in the draft, and he feels like he can help me get there. Pope leaving an impression on him in terms of what they were doing in practices. He said it's good, exciting. I didn't expect him to be that cool. Like, he's drawing up plays for me. It's a great sign, shows he believes in me. That's what I'm looking for in a coach who believes in me and lets me play through my mistakes, because I'm going to be coming in as a freshman. For him to have a lot of hope in me and to put a lot of responsibility in my hands, that means a lot. Really impressive, the maturity, and for him to be self-aware. I do respect that. But yeah, he said, when the time is right, I'm definitely going to be taking an official visit to Kentucky. We don't know when the official visit would be coming, nor do we know when a timeline for when he would want to make an announcement to where he's going to commit. But it's clear Kentucky's pouring some time and resources into this kid. Mark Pope's leading the charge. Clearly invested in the number 5 overall prospect in the 2026 class. And then Christian Collins is the 4th guy that I would go after here. Christian Collins recently actually updated his recruitment. He wants to take some visits. He hasn't been on any yet, and he hasn't scheduled or really talked with schools about visits. But he noted Kentucky came to see him, Duke came, USC, Arkansas, Louisville, and some others have come to see me for an in-home this spring. Kentucky was the first team that he noted. Whenever asked about his interest in UK, Jason Hart apparently is playing a big part in the recruitment. Collins said, I've been knowing Jason Hart since I was a freshman in high school, so we've had that relationship. Coach Pope was here, and my coach was my coach during one of these sessions, so I've been getting to know him, and I've learned a lot already. He won't make a decision until late in the late signing period, but he's got some interest in Kentucky. He's known Jason Hart for a long time. If we whiff on Jason Crowe Jr., Hart can very quickly redeem himself by landing the number 4 overall player, at least it would look like on paper. So those are the 4 guys that I would be wanting to go after immediately if Jason Crowe Jr. does not work out. Stokes, Kinney, Holt, Collins, I think in that order. But look with me here at next season's roster. Do you guys realize that the Wildcats, unless players transfer, are going to be bringing back minimum 10 players? Because here's my opinion. Cam Williams might declare for the draft. Jasper Johnson might declare for the draft. I would be surprised if either of them do. I think both of them would come back. And so I think 11 is what you're looking at possibly returning. If not 10, one of them declaring and the other one staying. Let's say they both leave. You have 9 players returning for your roster next season. 9. Because Otega Owe will graduate and leave. Denzel Aberdeen will graduate and leave. And Jaden Quaintance, barring some sort of collapse or transfer, or either some sort of total collapse or just deciding that he wants to return for the money. By some sort of miracle, Jaden Quaintance could return and not declare for the draft or transfer. I would lean towards him declaring for the draft before he ever left Kentucky, but that's me now in the middle of July. You would be bringing back, again, if players don't leave for other schools and Cam does not declare and Jasper does not declare, you would be bringing back Jalen Lowe, Colin Chandler, Jasper, Braden Hawthorne, Cam Williams, Diabate, Yelovich, Noah, Garrison, Malachi Marino, and then Reese Potter. 8 of those guys can be incredibly impactful for you. 9 of those guys can be very impactful for you. And you look how it's divvied up. Jalen Lowe is your true one. Chandler and Jasper are your combo wing or combo shooting guard types. Cam and Braden are your wings, your threes. Diabate, Yelovich, Noah, I think are there at the 4. I think I would split Noah, probably play him more at the 3, but you can play him at the 4 because he's a bigger bodied guy. If you want to. 3-4 type player, tweener. And then you've got Garrison and Marino at the 5. You've got at every position, at least outside of point guard, you've got at every position 2 players that fit well 2 through 5. What you would need in next year's roster, you would need a backup guard to Jalen Lowe. You would need a backup guard, I think it's shooting guard, or some sort of tweener. You would need a backup wing, I think. And then outside of that, you've got your 15 and you let it rock. If you wanted to, instead of getting a second backup guard, you could go and get another backup center if Garrison leaves or you don't want to have Garrison and Marino and then Potter be your third guy. I mean, honestly, if you really wanted to, you could play Yelovich at the 5 at various points if he gets if he develops, and then you could go get a backup 4 and let Cam and Braden be your guys at the 3, and then Diabate, Noah, whatever other power forward you want to go get. There's the point being, you've got depth if players don't leave, so it begs the question: what exactly are you going to do with this year's recruiting class? Right? Jason Crowe Jr. doesn't exactly fit perfectly on this roster unless he's comfortable coming off the bench and being like a tertiary scoring option, like a third scoring option for UK. Right? Taylen Kinney would have to be comfortable being a backup guard to Jalen, I think. Because if he comes back and he plays well this year, he's going to be our top guy. He's like the clear cut, like, yeah, he's starting. Jalen Lowe is starting. Caleb Holt, I think, would be great on this team. I mean, great on this team. I think Christian Collins would also be really good on this team. But Stokes, Crowe and Kinney would have a tough time. I mean, unless Pope just really, really wants to play them more or start them, which is, based on what we've seen, would be out of character. I mean, Kentucky's got a roster, and they can pay these guys if they play well. That's if they play well, by the way. Some of these guys may not play well, and you may say, you know what, Cam, appreciate you. You shot 31% from 3 and didn't really provide enough on defense. We're going to ask you to leave. Okay. You may look at a guy like Andrea Yelovich and say, you just did not provide enough shooting and defense. We're going to ask you to leave. You may look at a guy like Reese Potter and say, we need to swap you out for another scholar. Like, I don't know how Kentucky's going to do this. Stokes, I think, would be a really good 4. You pair him with Diabate. No, at that point, you slide Diabate up to the 3. And just let it rock between Yelovich and Stokes, I think. Or you let Yelovich rotate in with Marino and Garrison. That's a stacked front court if you get Stokes. Like how do you keep everybody happy type front court. But you may one guy kind of like fills this out, and you can go get 2 transfers. You could get a transfer or 2. Maybe 3, depending on if people leave that we don't anticipate. You get 2 transfers. You get 2 recruits. and you call it a day, honestly. And if it's not Stokes, okay. I would prefer you get somebody like Stokes or Holt. But like, man, regardless of whatever you do, these kids are going to have to acclimate to our environment. We're not going to come in and just be like, you are going to be our lead starting point guard. You are going to be our lead starting XYZ. I would think that's the case. Right now, they're going to have to be willing to take a back seat to some kids that hopefully prove themselves this season and are capable of running it back again, or at least willing to do so in a similar role. Everybody's going to have to cooperate here. And that's what Pope's been preaching about, right? It's about finding kids that want to be a part of a team. So we'll see. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. Follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and God bless.